Hey everybody, this is Shit Talk Reviews. I'm John, David, and Derek in the room with me tonight. We've also got a guest in the house. He is the legendary singer from Grammy-nominated Shadows Fall. He's also in Overcast, Downpour, as well as a slew of other fantastic projects.
Too many bands.
Too many bands. Please welcome Brian Fair to Shit Talk. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me on, man. I'm down to talk some shit.
Welcome, Brian.
You're in the right place.
All right, just what do you think of Dave? Do you like the Rangers? I mean, let's start there.
God. What are we gonna do about Dave? I mean,
he's got to be a Bruin fan. Here we go.
Of course, born and raised. Yep. Grew up in the OG days of going to the Garden in the '80s. Seeing Ray Bork and all them. So yeah, definitely Bruins through and through. But nice. So. Yep.
But you're a Celtic fan, so you might be ecstatic about the Celtics this year.
That was a great run, man. As weird as the playoffs were of just beating up on beat up teams, they were unstoppable all year. So I don't care, man. And I've been going to Celtics games since I was probably like 6-7 years old. Had season tickets throughout the early 2000s during some awful years. Of the Paul Pierce, Antoine Walker years,
ML Carr, the ML Carr years. Yeah.
Oh, well, that was way back in the day, But so I was super stoked to get a championship this year and get banner 18 up there. So good stuff.
Brian, real quick, I have a 22-year-old son. I said, Dylan, if you lived in Massachusetts, think about this: the last 22 years, you don't know what it's like not to win a championship with all the basketball and the Patriots and all that stuff. I said, think about it. I mean, this is a run that Boston will probably, at least the Patriots and all that, you'll never see this again. It's just been insane.
And which is crazy is all these younger Boston fans are so used to parades and championships, whereas we were, had nothing the whole time I was growing up. We had the curse of the Bambino, where the Red Sox couldn't get out of their own way.
Sure.
Celtics had their run in the 80s with Larry Bird, but then there was nothing for, decades until Kevin Garnett came over. The Bruins were a joke forever until, they kind of turned it around. So it's crazy. Young Boston fans are so spoiled. It's ridiculous.
Yes, they are.
Yep. You need to suffer to be able to really enjoy it. And we suffered.
Yeah, I grew up in Vermont and then moved to Boston in '99 after going to college in Vermont and, seeing a ton of Phish shows. And I think you're a Phish fan, if I remember correctly.
Once we're off of here, I'm actually going to be live streaming the festival there in Delaware for the next 3 nights or 4 nights. So,
very nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to thank you for joining. You don't know me, but I know you. I've your dreads have choked me a couple times in the pit, Overcast shows. I've held you up. I might have touched your penis once. Sorry about that. But man, we had a great time in Boston. I am so happy that Shad is back. Is there anything that you can tell us about the new album that you recorded with Zeus? Just to wet the whistle. I know there's probably a lot of things that you can't tell. But we did want to start there and kind of wet the whistle for Shadows Fall returning to its glory.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for catching me on the stage dives, but you didn't need to go crotch first on it, So,
you kind of just did it, and
Well, I honestly, the front flip does tend to just put the crotch right into people's face, so it happens. So I get it. I'm very excited to be making new Shadows Fall music, which we'd always thought would happen, but didn't know for sure. We really, when we kind of stopped touring, it wasn't because we didn't want to make music together or didn't want to play. We were so burnt out. Life was taking different turns. People were having kids. It was just, John ended up in Anthrax. So he's in the Big Four all of a sudden, So once we finally got together to start playing shows again a few years ago, the idea of new music came up almost right away. And John just had a stockpile of riffs. And so far, we've probably instrumentally got, say, 7-ish songs recorded that are like pretty done. I know there's got to be some, overdubs and some candy tracks. Vocally, I've recorded 2 all the way through that are done, and then have probably 4 more that are written that are, I'd say 90% there. There's always changes while we track, like little new ideas that pop up. But it's going along super well. We're gonna take our time because there's really no deadline, that involved. We also, I don't think we're gonna release it all at once. I think now, thankfully, modern ways of doing things. You don't have to just drop a 10-song album. You can do a few just like little chunks here and there. So we're hoping to probably get some music out late fall. I'm hoping, at least a couple songs. And my plan, if it all goes according to me, would be to do that, drop like 2 or 3 songs every chunk, and then put them all out on vinyl at the end, like as one collection. So that would be my in my world. That's what we're doing. We'll see if it actually happens. But so far, getting back with Zeus is just awesome. He's been with us, working with him since the demos before Of One Blood. So and we're recording most of it at Matt's house as well. So just when I get back to Massachusetts, it's super comfortable just getting his basement and just, work on tunes. And it's been a blast. So I'm heading back for New England Metal Fest with Overcast. And I'm probably going to do a few more vocal sessions during that weekend as well. So hopefully things keep moving the way they are, and we'll get some new tunes out hopefully before the end of the year. But that's if everything goes perfect. So
Metal Fest is next month, right?
September 21st or so, or something like that. An insane lineup. You got Kill Switch and it's just kind of a who's who of like all the metal fests in over the last however many years all together. So it's gonna be killer, man. Stoked. And it's always fun to play Overcast shows because it's so few and far between. So,
who are you looking forward to seeing that's on that bill?
Very excited to see Kill Switch just because they're doing like a kind of a 20th anniversary thing. So they'll probably be doing a bunch of deep cuts. Terror's playing. Love those dudes. Nails is playing, so I'm stoked to see Nails. Haven't seen them live in years. So Slaughter Prevail I've never seen live, so I'll be stoked to see that and check out their crazy masks and all that. So should be cool, man. Stoked.
Nice.
Hey, Brian, how crazy is that if you go back to your Boston days and the younger days, and you're running with bands like Unearth and Hatebreed and Kill Switch, and now you fast forward and here you are on a huge, thing coming up with Kill Switch. It's got to be like, this is unbelievable how this circle of people you grew up with have really made it. I mean, some of these guys have really made it, like yourself.
Yeah. It's pretty insane because it was a small group of friends. Like, between Overcast alone, we, guys went off to do Kill Switch and Shadows Fall. And the next thing we were, on tour together in Ozfest and getting Grammy nominations and shit like that. And Hatebreed, I've been playing shows with Jamie since I was probably 16. He was like 14. And that predates Hatebreed. He used to be in a band called Josta 14. And we would play in Connecticut and Massachusetts together all the time when we were still in high school. And fast forward 30 years later, and we're still sharing stages together.
It's amazing.
And and it's funny too, though. One thing that's funny is you see some of these flyers from like the late 90s, and people are like, "Oh my God, Converge, Overcast, Hatebreed. That must have been insane." I'm like, "Yeah, there was 30 people there, and it was literally in a cafe basement."
Unbelievable.
So it was a very small scene. So to see what grew out of that is crazy. So
it's amazing. Thank you.
What are you listening to right now? Aside, we know who you want to see. What's on the playlist these days?
I've been lately, honestly, every day I listen to at least some Grateful Dead. That's going to happen every single day, usually to start the day. But it's funny. I've been on a very 90s death metal kick lately where I've been going back and listening to like Morbid Angel, Blessed for the Sick, first few Deicide records, bunch of Carcass. And I've been playing horrible drums along with all of it. It's great. So, just trying to blast beat along with Napalm Death and just doing it sloppy and terrible.
Are you playing? Yeah. Are you playing it on that little Junior SPL kit?
No, I wish. That's still next to my kit. It's Good. Funny. Even my kids have outgrown that at this point. So no, I got a really beat up little kit I got back there and just hack my way through a bunch of old death metal.
Yeah, you played guitar and drums in Transient. Yep. You played bass with, God, was it Frenzy?
Yeah. That was middle school, man. Frenzy was like me and my middle school friends who are still good friends with all of them. We were kind of a weird mix of like Sex Pistols type punk with like Skid Row. Like we were all over the place. We literally cover Holidays in the Sun and then like Big Guns by like Skid Row.
That's awesome.
How much playing do you write much at your house?
I
instrumental stuff as well.
Yeah, I haven't been as much lately. There was a time where I was probably like, I've probably recorded demos of like 50, 60 songs that no one else has ever heard. These days, I just don't have as much time. I play guitar all the time though. Like I literally sitting on the couch, driving my kids crazy, just playing songs at them all the time and making them, listening to me just hack my way through shit. But I've been playing a ton of guitar and just not getting any better, just playing a lot. So.
I've seen a couple of your guitars. This is a great seg. I've seen a couple of your guitars in your the Metal Hippy Workout videos, which by the way are fantastic.
Awesome, man. Yeah. I usually have my my Telecaster and my BC Rich Eagle. We're in the background of a few of them for sure. And yeah, man, those have been fun.
You're fit. You're obviously in good shape, but what got that started? What prompted you to start putting those videos out?
I probably like right at the beginning of the pandemic when I had a lot more time, I was on, furloughed from work, just stuck at home. I had always been like, working out here and there. And I used to be a cross country runner and all that stuff, but I used to kind of stay in shape just from being on the road. Yeah. And then once we came home, I was sitting at a desk a lot more and it was a lot harder. So I started kind of getting into like high intensity interval training and just some really more crazy cardio because I also had to get ready for these shows without playing all the time. And then I just got super into it and was like working out all the time. And then I started studying to become a personal trainer because I just got so into the idea of it. And honestly, was like, there would be a fun side gig job to also have. And I started kind of realizing, I'm like, if I'm going to be doing these all the time, I was like, I might as well film them and get them out there and, kind of share what I've been learning, but also I'm 49, I'm going to be 50 next year. And I'm in better shape now than I definitely was in my like early 30s, late 20s, mostly because I'm just not partying as hard as I was probably as well. Yeah. But I just kind of wanted to show people like, hey, you don't need to spend hours at the gym. You can do everything at home. And you don't need to slow down just because you're getting old. There's ways to work around the sore knees and sore backs and find things that fit your lifestyle and your goals and all that. So that led to the videos. The first few, like production wise, were pretty ghetto. They're getting better. I'm learning a little more video editing and which has been another fun side thing to come out of it, learning how to do some of that. But it's been a blast, man. And came out swinging pretty hard in the first few where I'm like, people better be ready. These aren't easy. Yeah. I'll probably put up some intermediate stuff later, but I came out swinging hard.
Yeah, I'll reluctantly say this on this podcast that watching some of those videos, checking them out, I was like, shit, we're all right around 52. I'm just north of 50. Derek just had a birthday the other day.
I'm 53. Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is I'm not in the same shape I was when I was 25.
Yep.
And so the idea behind what you're doing with very minimal equipment, if any, is great. And you can do it in the space of your living room. And who doesn't want to fucking work out, with the singer Shadows Fall, right?
There you go. Yeah, that's how I figured. I think if people would be interested, I'll be like, hey, at least I got a little built-in audience. And it's been fun, man. And it's one thing I'm starting to record a bunch of these like 5-minute workouts where because I'll be at work and I'll literally have a short break and I'm like, I'm just going to do 5 minutes of like different squat exercises and stuff to keep moving. I'll even do it while I'm waiting for the microwave, to finish like heating up lunch. And, so to show people like, hey, if you don't have the time, you can sneak in these little workouts that'll cumulatively get you to where you need to be. So the key is just to keep moving, man. Just keep on moving. Cause as soon as we stop, it's way harder to get going again.
You're not wrong, physics, man. You're not wrong. Well, the music that you're putting in those clips too is great. Yeah. You use a lot of instrumental downpour tracks, which are fantastic. And I'd like to touch on them too and find out, if we have any downpour news because that's a fantastic project too.
Yeah, those songs, man. When we first started writing that stuff, it kind of re-energized me metal-wise, because Shadows Fall had kind of been slowing down. And when Derek and Matt, the guitar player and drummer, first brought that stuff to me, I was like, man, this is like the writing happened super fast on my end, and I got really into it. And but unfortunately, just because of different people's situations, it took forever to get any of the music out. I think there was like a clip we put out, and it was like coming 2015, and then like last month the record finally came out, so just missed our deadline by just a little bit. Yeah, but they're just like super riffy, groovy metal stuff that's got a lot of energy. And lyrically, I went very introspective, a lot less like with Shadows Fall. I tend to kind of use a lot of like wordplay and get a little, I was a literature major, so I try and flex some of those muscles in Shadows Fall stuff. With Downpour, it was way more straightforward, personal kind of approach to it. Less philosophical, more personal, I guess would be the way to describe it. So that was also fun for me to write from kind of a different perspective. And yeah, we just a new kind of EP just came out, Kill the Mind. It's available on all the streaming spots. We're hoping to get some physical copies made as well. We'll see. I wish we could play shows, but everyone's kind of gone off in different worlds. But it was cool too, because I had all the instrumentals on my phone. I'm like, oh man, I'm using this for a soundtrack without a doubt.
Perfect. Yeah, it's great.
Changing gears a little bit, I've always wondered about your lyrical writing inspiration. How much does spirituality, it's probably a stupid question, but I'm going to say it anyways. How much does spirituality have to play in your worldview lyrically?
It's huge, especially in the early days. Even some of Overcast and definitely the first few Shadows Fall records were heavily influenced by things I'd read either in philosophy classes and when I was going to Boston University, or in theology classes. I studied a lot of different religions and kind of have through the years sort of cherry picked and morphed my own views based on my own experiences from a lot of that. So there's influences of like a song like Thoughts Without Words is about transcendental meditation. And then a song like Fire in Babylon is straight out of some Rastafarian like fire and brimstone shit. So there's always been a part of that for sure, especially in those early ones. And a lot of literature would sneak in too. Like the song Crushing Belial was based off a Philip K. Dick novel called The Divine Invasion about if basically Jesus was coming back, but people thought he was an alien and tried to kill him, it was so. And it's funny because at first some people were like, oh, is this like a Christian song? I'm like, it's a very warped, version of that, and I've never really adhered to one kind of dogmatic, organized religion ever. But I've always definitely felt a connection to a lot of spiritual things and tried to kind of just share my worldview, and which mostly comes down to just kind of like one love of just like, trying to share this world with everybody when it really gets broken down to the essence. But yeah, it's been a huge part. And it's funny, I was writing some stuff recently. Towards the end of Shadows Fall, the world was just like on fire, it seemed. So like a lot of that had not a negative feel, but was like just reflecting kind of what was happening in the world. So songs like The Wasteland and things like that were definitely more about like endless wars and environmental just chaos and all that. But I've kind of shifted back towards some of that philosophical and spiritual stuff on some of the new stuff. There's also some straight up, like sometimes metal lyrics just like come out because they sound metal. Like, like where I'm just like, I don't know exactly what that means, but that sounds bad as fuck over this riff, so whatever. Yeah.
Hey, Brian, I just want to piggyback on what Derek just said, since we're talking about writing and lyrics. And real quick, I didn't know anything about the band up until a few weeks ago. Mind blowing, just phenomenal. But
he's a fucking idiot.
All I've been listening to is Threads of Life and The War Within. Hooked on those two albums. And when I got to Threads of Life, I literally stopped in my tracks when I heard Another Hero Lost, because I'm a lyrical guy. And I'm Brian. Holy shit, brother! This is one of the most beautiful ballads I have ever heard. So I was and when I did I had to go back and see where you got this from, and I cheated a little bit, but what a tribute to your cousin. I mean, holy shit, Brian, unbelievable song.
See, well, thank you. And they're obviously wrong about you, David, because you've got it all figured out. See, he's the smart one. Now I've learned. So see?
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, it was out of some really difficult and awful situations can come some, some inspiration and art. And unfortunately, that whole situation, my cousin joined the Marines after we lost another cousin of ours in the World Trade Center on 9/11. So that's why he enlisted. And then we ended up losing him over in Afghanistan. So it was really tough, but I wanted to kind of capture the feelings that the family was going through, but also try and keep his legacy alive in some way through that song. So yeah, it was a tough one to write, but it was cathartic, and it was really humbling to see it connect with people and have that kind of being able to discuss that with some people who've gone either through similar things or had lost family members, or who are just servicemen themselves who are who are dealing with the loss of their friends and their comrades. So yeah, it was that was.
I implore everybody who's listening to this podcast, because I'm not going to read the lyrics, do it yourself. I'm telling you, he hit it on the head. He wrote a song that got you in the gut. This is the song. This is one of the best ballads I've ever heard.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yep, you're welcome.
To keep going down the songwriting road, I got a couple of questions in that regard. What informs you can cover all styles. You can go clean, you can go screamo, you can go, real dark and gnarly. What informs those choices when you are sketching out vocal parts for a song? Do you just really rely on the instrumental tracks that are already there?
Yeah, it's really the riff, and then like the feeling. Like if it's a big, wide open, song, like there's no need to scream like a typewriter over it. Like I want to bring. And these guys, I'm playing with these incredible musicians who are all virtuosos in their own rights, who also have influences that we're not afraid to kind of cross genres with. Like. John, our lead guitar player, he's a straight child of the 80s, man. If it was up to him, we would sound more like Rat and Dawkins than anything else, So when he's writing some of those riffs that sneak in, like I'm going to bring that kind of vocal style to it. But then when Matt writes some just brutal chromatic death metal stuff, like it would sound ridiculous to get all pretty over it. So although I do like to play with that a little bit, sometimes when it's like a little crazy, you can kind of maybe mix in some melody just to kind of counterpoint off of it. But yeah, it's usually I hear the music, I kind of start getting vocal lines. Sometimes even before I have words, I'll just kind of start getting patterns. And sometimes there'll be placeholder lyrics where I'm just probably singing like some weird Bob Marley lyrics over a thing until I kind of come up with what I'm doing. But yeah, it's usually pretty inspired by the music. Right. And then from there, just take it from there,
Brian, speaking of range and all, how much has working with Melissa Cross have that you were able to do much more stretching of the voice within these songs?
Yeah, she was huge, especially in the early days. I was one of the kind of first metal guys she'd worked with. I met her through an old publisher of ours who and she had been doing vocal coach for forever, and
she's worked with so many bands.
Yeah, and then started kind of getting into the idea of screaming when she kind of was like, wow, this scene's crazy. Is anyone helping these people? And at first I really worked on how to warm up and how to save my voice we were touring 9-10 months out of the year, playing, 28 shows a month, killing ourselves. So that really helped because, I technique wise, I was just kind of stumbling onto my own thing. She kind of helped me find ways to not only warm up to where your first song's as powerful as your third song, there's no build up, you're hitting the ground running, which was huge, but also finding ways to use your throat in a way that's not just shredding it. But then after that, once we got through that, she started really helping me expand my range. I still do her warm up that she gave me in probably 2001 before every show. So I still hear her voice just hey, Brian, it's time to sing,
That's cool.
And before every show. And it's literally on an old iPod that I'm terrified one day is not going to turn on, because it's ancient. It's ancient. I mean,
she is a legend in the business, and she's worked with, I'm not going to go through the list, but she's worked with some amazing people.
Oh, so. Yeah. And that's what's crazy. So it started, it was kind of like me, Jesse from Killswitch, Keith, who was in Every Time I Die. And then it expanded where she became the go-to metal person. So, and the Zenith Screaming DVD was huge. There was nothing else like that at the time anywhere. There's no brutal screaming metal vocal technique DVDs or books or anything. So Yeah, it was cool. And she's awesome. She's one of the coolest
Very
ladies.
nice.
She's got stories for days. She's been through,
Oh,
she's seen some
bet.
shit.
That's great.
So when Of One Blood came out, I reviewed it for, I think it was Mega Kung Fu was the website I was on.
Man, I remember that website. Yeah, hell yeah.
That was me. So
Yeah,
I did that, and then I did Hit the Pit after. And I think I said at the time that you came out of the womb, bit off the umbilical cord, untethered your wings, spit the umbilical cord at your father, and flew away to take over the earth. When did you know? I'm sure it wasn't when you popped out of mom, but when did you know that you were going to be a singer? And for the record, I believe that you're, one of the best singers on the planet, because you can do everything. But when did you know? When was the moment that you had this like, oh shit, this is what I'm gonna fucking do, and I'm fucking badass?
Well, I guess the moment I knew what I wanted to do is pretty funny. I grew up pretty musical, like out of the gates, like where I was listening to Kiss records and stuff when I was really young with like my cool neighbor and my older brother. Mm-hmm. And I started going to concerts really young. And I went to see Bon Jovi on the Slippery When Wet tour, and Cinderella was opening up. Oh. And they opened with Night Songs, the song Night Songs. And I looked at Tom Kiefer and I was like, that's what I'm doing. I was like, that's it. I was like, it's funny though. I didn't sing at all, in the early days. I played bass, I played guitar, and I kind of stumbled into singing a few songs with my first bands in like middle school. But then when I met Mike D, and we talked about starting Overcast, he was a bass player. He had a bunch of songs. I was a bass player. So he's like, well, I already have songs. You have to sing. I was a better skateboarder than him too. So he's like, you're the better skateboarder. You have to be the front man. And I had no idea what I was going to, I had no idea what I was going to sound like. So we started the first Overcast stuff. Musically was very like early Neanderthal hardcore, like, Cro-Mags, Agnostic Front kind of stuff, Sick of It All sounding stuff. But I was singing like very Hetfield, like very James Hetfield at first, and no screaming. And then the music started getting a little heavier and darker. And I started listening to like, a little bit more heavy stuff. And that started bringing in the screams, and then Overcast just kind of evolved where we were one of the earlier bands. There were definitely bands doing it, but we were mixing the really melodic choruses with the full brutal screaming at a time where that wasn't really happening a lot. We were also mixing a lot of hardcore and metal, and that wasn't happening at all. And if anything, people were like not happy about that. Like we would play hardcore shows and we were too metal for those dudes. We'd play a death metal show. We were too hardcore for those dudes. So we were kind of stuck in that, like, why are you putting your chocolate in my peanut butter shit, So yeah, but which is funny because now that is the most normal shit ever. Yeah. Like, the lines between metal genres have completely been blurred. Singing and screaming is the most normal thing. It's almost a cliche at this point. It's so it's funny to think that in 1992 when we were doing some of that stuff, people were looking at us like we were freaks. So but yeah, and as far as, figuring out when I was good at it, I'm still waiting. I always feel like the weakest link in Shadows Fall because those dudes are like legit musicians. And I'm always like, man, I'm going to come on here and just ruin this song. I was like, oh, well, that's all I can do.
Well, I disagree with your assessment. However, I will say the older I get, the happier I am to feel like the dumbest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Like I'm the older I get, the more I just want to soak in the knowledge of everybody around me. So
totally,
I like being the dumbest guy in the room anymore.
Yeah. I've been blessed to be surrounded by so many talented people in the bands from an early age where I was just like, cool, man, you all just carry me along, man. I'll just, I just get to jump around, scream, look like an idiot. And people enjoy that while you guys play like actual music.
Yeah. Well, you got Overcast rolling at what, like 15 or something, right?
Yeah. I think I was 15. So our drummer was 14, so.
What a time
you
to
were
be
definitely
alive.
Kids. So you got that started so early and obviously went down the musical path and seemed like it was kind of predetermined what you were going to do. But have you thought about what path your life might have taken had music not been a thing for you?
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Yeah, because it was, like I said, I was playing in bands since I was in middle school, and then Overcast started before I had my driver's license, and literally out of the gates, we started playing shows every weekend, and then we started traveling. So it was constant. And it's funny because I don't know how I convinced my parents at the time to let me do some of the shit they let us do. Because I was, Mike D was the only one with a driver's license. We were all too young. And we'd go to like do Albany, New York City, and like Philly in a weekend at like 15, playing some sketchy fucking places, man. Like, like dingy little hardcore shows.
Man, wouldn't you just love to go back to those days? Man, God, what a time to be alive.
It was a blast, man. Like, and then you didn't care if the show was shot. You didn't, there was no agenda. The other thing is the idea of success, like financial or like popularity, that wasn't on the radar because that music was so underground at that time. So we were just having fun, man. We were like just a bunch of idiots in Mike D. We were literally touring in an Escort, like that pulled a trailer that we built out of a kit from Home Depot. Jesus. So like, and we didn't know how to back it up or anything. We had to empty it and then pick it up and put it into a parking space. Like we were, and those days were as fun as it gets, man, because you just didn't care. You're just going for it. So
gotta be nice having somebody else schlep your gear though now, man, right?
Oh, well, I want to say it's funny because like now that once you get on a tour bus and have a crew and some of that stuff happens, going backwards is tough. And like just this, we played the Incarceration Festival in Ohio recently.
Right.
And I live in St. Louis and I was going to take the kids. So I was like, I'm going to drive. I was like, you guys just fly, and I'll meet you there. I'm going to drive. The rest of the band was like, you know what? We can save some money. We know someone who's letting us use a van. We're going to drive too. They got 2 hours into that drive and they already sent a text like, we are never driving to a show ever fucking again. This is it. We're flying only. Like, that's it. Meanwhile, I got 2 kids in the car. I'm trying to keep entertained. Like, I'm just like, yeah, I get it. Like,
What a run for you and Mike D, man. It's been what a run you guys have had.
That's pretty crazy stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
And to still get to like play shows together and do things and the occasional Overcast show. Like, it's funny for New England Metal Fest, Mike D has the busiest week possible. He's doing an Overcast set. He's got the Kill Switch set. He's got a wedding reception, like his own wedding reception that weekend.
Jesus.
It's just madness. So
Unreal.
We tried to even sneak in some, and Death Ray Vision's playing, which he's in too. So he's got 3 sets with 3 different bands and a wedding reception. So dude's an animal.
That's crazy.
So I have to go back to the future. We're going to do that because if I don't ask these questions, people will say, why didn't you ask? So label, is there a label on the horizon for you, or are you shopping?
I think we've got something locked up. I don't know if I'm allowed to announce yet, but we definitely have a great partner for the music. We have a very progressive kind of view. Like, they're going to let us kind of release it in a way that makes sense. We're very excited that we got kind of infrastructure. It's very different now. The traditional sort of record deal, it doesn't have to be the way it used to be. Like, there was such a industry standard of like record a full length, tour for a year and a half, record a full length, tour for a year and a half, like that kind of cycle. And it's been totally decimated now because, you don't need to do the first week numbers don't mean what they used to, all that type of shit. So it's cool. But yeah, we've got a good partnership that hopefully we can announce soon. So.
And I saw that Bittner left Overkill, which is pretty slick gig, into itself. So is it safe to say that Shad is back? It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon?
It's not going anywhere, but I don't think we'll ever be the full-time touring band we were. Again, it's a lot of family stuff and people have just got different things going on. John being in Anthrax is that's going to be kind of his main gig most of the time. Jason, he left Overkill, but he's also got Category 7 with John Bush and Phil Demmel and all those guys, and that new record's killer. So they'll be busy with that. But we're definitely like gonna keep playing shows. We're gonna keep doing festivals. We probably will hopefully do some short tours here and there, especially when new music comes out. But we're gonna kind of pick and choose our battles, which is again also a nice place to be in. When the band was our full-time job, you couldn't stay at home for too long, or there was going to be a home to come home to. Right. you got to go out and grind. So it's nice to not have that pressure, but also to do it because it's fun again. Each show that we've done have all been blockbusters in our minds because there's just enough time between each one that you get that excited again. It ramps up. and then it's just like an explosion. Whereas, me personally, I was so burnt out by the time we stopped touring in 2015. We'd been on a 15-year run where I hadn't been home for more than a few weeks, like through that whole thing. And physically, my neck was shot, my back was shot. Like I was burnt mentally as well. So it was time to come home for a while. But then, now I'm like, okay, cool. Let's go have some fun. Yeah.
Well, back then, and it wasn't that long ago, those brutal schedules were largely mandated by the label, correct?
Yeah, the only way to survive in a band like us, we're not going to sell 10 million records and, have all that stuff. So you got to go out there and stay on the road, keep your name in front of people, keep everything exciting. You got to sell t-shirts, that's how you're making your money is out there on the road. So, and once, if a label is going to spend a bunch of money to drop a record and do videos, they're like, you got to go promote it now. Like you got to get out there and hit it. So, it's nice to kind of have it as a very musical, what's driving us to record now is that we love the songs we're writing. It's not because there's a deadline, and the shows we're playing is because we're just like, sounds like a party, man. Let's do it.
Well, from the outside, it seems like a lot of the with the new labels and maybe the reworking of heritage labels, where it's much more of a collaboration between the artist and the band and the label, because the label understands that the artist these days has more power. You can publish and release your own stuff without them at all.
It's totally changed things where they've kind of realized their best role is as a promotional partner. And, and a manufacturer, if you're doing like vinyl or whatever, because you don't need CDs, they still make them, I guess, but I don't know, like not in the numbers they used to. So they're realizing, and they've also, a lot of them downsized, which because they had to. So it's more about partnering with the band and label relationship.
That's great.
And finding a way to make it make sense for everyone, like otherwise, the old model doesn't work. It's broken. You can't just throw money at things and think it's going to hit. People have too many choices. There's, like you said, you can put out music yourself. So there's definitely an oversaturation, unfortunately, as well, because of that. So there's just so much content. You got to find new and innovative ways to share it and keep it special. So, and I think the labels that are surviving and thriving are the ones who are flexible, willing to evolve, willing to work with the artist's vision, as opposed to just, cool, man, let's stick to the old method, So.
Right. That's great.
Well, we really appreciate your time. I personally am thrilled that Shad is back. I am happy for you. I have followed your career. I've been, at a million shows with you. You just don't know me. You knew Mega Kung Fu, so that's cool. But yeah, I mean, man, thank you for writing soundtrack of my life. And and Dave, part of the reason why we do this podcast is for him to learn metal. Like he's, a Van Halen guy.
We're all still teaching Dave things, that's why we're here.
No, and it's just, it's awesome to have you on. Really appreciate it. And can't wait to hear the record.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been a blast, man. Thank you guys too. And I really appreciate the kind words, and I'm very excited to be the fact that we're back and doing it again. So as well. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, we did a podcast before this on 3 songs or whatever amount of songs that impact your life when you heard it. And I just want you to know, next time we do a podcast and I have to pick a song, Another Hero Lost is going to be on it. Phenomenal.
Awesome, man. Hells yeah. That's killer, man.
Well, thanks much, man. I appreciate your time and a continued success to Shadows Fall and all the projects. Hopefully we get more Downpour as well, too.
Indeed, man. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. And yeah, keep your eye out. New Shad's coming. New Downpour is out now. There'll never be any new Overcast. We can't write like we did when we were 16 anymore, but we'll be playing shows. So we'll see you all around somewhere.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so
Indeed,
much.
Man. Thank you guys. Take care.